Well, good afternoon, everybody. We'll bring today's special regional council meeting to order, September the 12th, 2024. I'd like to acknowledge that the Northern Rockies Administration Center, located in the heart of the traditional territory of the Dene, Cree, and Dunnezah people of the Fort Nelson First Nation, as well as the Prophet River First Nation. We recognize the rights that are inherent in our treaty, and we also celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis in our region. Please be advised that today's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually, as being streamed and recorded. Adoption of the agenda is in order, please. Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Roper. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. There is a notice of motion from Councillor Gerwing, 3.1. I see that there's also a staff report there that deals with a similar thing. So I think we will deal with this notice of motion while we deal with that report. The temporary use permit is 4.1 for the Phoenix Theater Drive-In.
Oh, yeah, I will recuse myself from this vote, but that's going to leave us without
We're going to
quorum.
be without quorum. I need to look to staff. Is Brenda on?
She's having trouble. Yeah, she texted me. She's having connection issues.
We need to wait for her to come on. Can we text her back and make sure she doesn't stop trying?
No, well. Yeah.
These are all of us.
Yeah. All right, then, well, we don't have a motion on the floor, so I will move past this then until Councillor Enax is on the phone. Is she there now? Councillor Enax, are you on the phone? Or pardon me, on the online? So close. Councillor Enax, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, disconnected now. I'm on the
Okay. Okay, well, we're
yeah,
gonna have.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So we're gonna have a discussion on the temporary use permit. We need you to stay on, otherwise we won't have quorum because Councillor Roper is declaring a conflict. Okay. All right, Ms. Carey, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. In accordance with Regional Council's consideration at September 3rd meeting, a public notification regarding the TUP was provided in accordance with the legislative requirements. To date, we haven't received any concerns about this application or the proposal from the member of public. However, we have received a general support from public through the social media data. One of the comment is stating, awesome idea, renew it indefinitely.
Okay.
Just wanted to highlight that the temporary use permit, if council wish to approve it, it will be starting from the expiration date, which is June 15, 2024.
Okay. Any questions? What are council's wishes? Councillor Andrews?
I would like to make a motion that the Phoenix Theater Management Society's application for a temporary use permit extension number 2401 be approved for a period of 3 years to permit the use of a drive-in cinema within a highway commercial C2 zone lot owned by Northern Rockies Regional Municipality located at 5307 50th Avenue South, legally described as Lot B, District Lot 1587, Peace River, District Plan 29656.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Andrews.
Second.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Are there any opposed? Hearing none. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank
And to
you.
confirm, Mayor, Councilor Enex did send a note that she was in favor too.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. As painful as that was, it's done. Now move to administration report 4624, which is a patient transport project update. Ms. Penny, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much. On September 3rd, 2024, a notice of motion proposed investigating grant funding for a patient transportation pilot project with Villards Air. This is part of a broader initiative to improve patient transportation services in the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, with several related initiatives currently underway. Admin Report 46 provides information around some of these initiatives. So brief background. In 2021, Villards Air proposed a planned medical air transportation program for Fort Nelson to address the need for patient travel for medical services unavailable locally. The proposal highlighted the importance of a well-coordinated transportation workflow tailored to individual patient needs. Since then, several complementary projects and activities have been undertaken or are underway, including the Community Health Planning Steering Committee. One of the initiatives underway is advocacy for increased access to health travel services. They are currently in stage 2, community survey and data collection, with an aimed at completion before the end of 2024. Navigating NRM Passenger Transportation Assessment Project evaluates passenger transportation options within the NRM. The Northern Community Shuttle Program, which was announced, focuses on passenger transportation services and connection to long-haul transportation options in the region. Complete community needs strategy underway to assess social, transportation, and infrastructure needs, targeting completion by August 2025. Primary care network priorities are focused on establishing positions like an Indigenous patient navigator to assist Fort Nelson patients in navigating the healthcare system, including coordinating travel and grant options. The overall goal is to develop a robust inter-community transportation service that supports both general public needs and medical services outside the community. That's my report.
Well, thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Penny?
Just a comment, I really like a line in here and I think we should maybe think about adopting it as our motto. That says, seek to explore sustainable solutions that go beyond conventional options. That seems to be the kind of work we do here. I like it.
So Councillor Goering's request is to add staff time or access some staff time to look at funding opportunities for the Villards project. And there's been, I guess I don't want to say movement, I guess some interest, I think is probably the best word, from Northern Health to look at that. And Councillor Goering is interested in, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but seeing if there's funds available, either externally to the NRM, or what the funds would look like if the NRM run it, and what would that look like? How would that look like in our next budget if that were the case? So is that overlapping with any of these, or is that really a separate project in your mind?
In my mind, with the Community Health Planning Steering Committee, I would think that this opportunity would come into one of the final solutions, like one of the initiatives.
Right, might
from
come
the
out of it,
project. Yeah,
but that's not. So will that primary care network, will they have funds to assist with the transportation
No.
or no? So it really, it from them would be a recommendation that should happen.
right.
So, which would support anything that Councillor Growing is interested in. Well, I think probably all of us are interested.
Correct.
In helping to make happen. So it's not running at odds with any of these projects and would actually enhance it because it would put us ahead of the game. Okay. So that's as far as as I've thought through this. So Councillor Gerwin, I know that you probably have thoughts as well because it's sort of your baby, so.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the report and all of the connections between all of the work that is currently being done. It took me a couple of moments to put the pieces together in terms of what I was looking for in moving the Villers Air project forward. I can see the long-term strategies that are taking place, that work staff is doing. But I really see Villers Air as a separate project. And I would really not like to wait until August of 2025 or the end of even 2024. I'm not saying that we have support from Northern Health, but my fear is, which is why I brought it forward, is that Northern Health will say, okay, let's go. And then we are stuck in some report writing.
Exercise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That would be the word. And it like, you know, but I'm also very aware that there is limited staff time. And it's obvious that a lot of work is being done in terms of transportation. And so if there is not staff capacity to do a funding search, maybe we can, I don't know, find some funds somewhere to hire a contractor. To just like, I just need to know, I have a meeting tomorrow with Hope Air to see, I'm gonna give them an update on the project. And that's the other thing, I guess I want to be really careful that I'm not stepping in where work is being done by staff, right? So I want to be really, really careful and above board that I'm not doing that. But I do have a meeting with that said, and I do have a meeting with Hope Air tomorrow. I just want to give Stephanie Aldridge, an update on Villers Air project and ask if, because they had mentioned earlier that they would consider funding seats on something like that for people that had financial need. So I'm just going to talk to her about that. So yeah, so I'm kind of, in light of this report, I'm still looking to ask council to see if we could get some staff time to look for funding opportunities for the Villers Air project. Thanks.
And I tend to agree. That's why I asked Diane the question about it, you know, running at cross purposes and it sure sounds, I think, and I think you would agree that it's worth exploring on our own. Eventually they would have got there probably anyway. So I guess it's a question to staff. There's a couple of things I guess that need to be. One is just looking for potential streams, but the other is to really identify what the budget might be. Right? How much might this need if we funded it entirely ourselves? So that's going to take a little bit of work working with Villers, right? To figure out.
Villers has all that fund.
Yeah.
They have all those costs. But
Yeah, so they have the cost, but so for our staff, they'd have to get a hold of him and, you know, meet with them and pull that sort of thing together. And what the options are, is it monthly, weekly, whatever that happens to look like. And then there's the bit about actually going out and seeing if there are other available funds beyond us. So how much time do you think that would take?
That's a
And
load-
how much?
that's a loaded question.
Sure it is.
I guess for us, we'd have to kind of sit internally and kind of get an idea what that would look like. The reason why I wanted to provide the report wasn't to suggest that it was just to kind of connect the dots, especially for everything in context for the rest of council, in terms of what was occurring in the background. If it's an initiative that, well, it sounds like it's an initiative, obviously that council would want to proceed with. So we would need to, I guess, put our collective heads together internally from with the RDP group and kind of get an idea in terms of scope it out to say what's required to be done here. What are the pieces that are missing to accomplish what we need to do? And in the meantime, also, because in the background, we can investigate what potential funding might be out there. What we don't really know is true scope at this point, but a lot of work has been done in the background. And right, Dan has an idea. He has an idea and a thought what that looks like. But it's kind of getting an understanding what it is. So I think if council's good with it, it's something that we would kind of go back with. Council pass a resolution to say, you know, direct us to start working on it, which was, I think, the intent of the notice of motion, and we can bring something back to council for to to outline what we feel the scope is and what it looks like, but we could start working on, right away here. Take a look at it. Because
Have you thought about what the need is, how often, to give them a bit of an idea? Is it twice a month? Is it weekly? Is it-
It's like, we don't know.
I know,
Like,
yeah.
we really don't know. Like, when we talk to our community members, it all depends on, well, how much is that going to be, right? And we know the Villers Air cost. We know how much it's gonna cost to rent a van on, let's just say it's Prince George, the Prince George site. Those costs are easy to figure in, but what we could take that and divide it by 8 people, because that's all that fits on that plane, and come up with a figure. But then it just gets complicated, because is Hope Air willing to sponsor some of that? Maybe, like, especially for those that are in financial need. The First Nations Health Authority, it gets complicated there as well, which is why this is a pilot project, so that we can work out all those details. And would we start weekly? I don't think so. Like, I think a lot will depend on what Northern Health thinks too. They haven't given us a firm answer yet, but
Well,
maybe bi-weekly. Maybe to start, we would just do it once a month and just check it out. Like, I really feel for chemotherapy patients,
Yeah.
and typically they either go bi-weekly or monthly. So to help those people out so that they can get down, get their treatment, and get back home before, they're sick. I think that would just be so beneficial for everyone.
any other comments? Then let's go for once a month to start, because you're gonna start somewhere, right? So let's figure what that looks like, and what that, and soon, I think, as you start talking, because there is this, trying to understand need, right? Is it, how many people would use it? Because we're not just gonna send people down there on this for doctor's appointments, right? There's gotta be a pretty significant need, I think. So we have to figure out what that is. I mean, cancer patients and,
Well, it's 8
Others
seats,
maybe.
right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I think-
and kind of sorry. Okay, so how Villers Air has envisioned it is you simply phone and book, like, you're to Villers Air, like the NRM doesn't have to be involved in that, right? That's kind of how that, you just phone, they're gonna take care of all those details, you pay, they're gonna be, like, you can pay directly to Villers Air, like, they're set up to do all of that. We don't have to take on any of those pieces at all.
yeah, no, for me, it's just how many seats are necessary? What does that look like, and how many trips might it be? Because it sets because I'll be surprised if there's a lot of money out there for this. And so I suspect we'll be carrying the lion's share of it, or the patients will.
Oh, well.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So is
Don't
there?
forget, Mayor, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but don't forget, the BC Cancer Agency has received a pot full of money from the province for medical travel for cancer treatments. So there's that pot of money in addition to Hope Air. So, like, we need to remember that
Yeah, so
important.
these
like,
are the
they're
kind-
gonna cover that.
Yeah, these are the kind of organizations that we need to search out, right?
Yeah.
That's what this
And I mean,
project is for.
Yeah,
All right, I know this is an addition to the budget this year, and it's an addition to what we've asked you to do. And so that's why I've been trying to figure out give you some idea what the scope might look like, so that you can give a bit of an idea whether you've got staff time or whether you need to get a contractor. to
And
do it.
I appreciate that. And that's why it's good for us to be able to go back and kind of look at what we have on the docket here. And
Yeah.
because what happens is, as we add more, I mean, it's something, obviously it's important, but obviously something will get pushed out, or some things will just get pushed out a little bit. But that said, it's also confirming what's already, because there's been a fair amount of work done in the background. Like, it's not like we're approaching Villers Air and confirming if there's an opportunity. We know that opportunity already exists, for example. I think the big one is back to Northern Health, is there's a fair amount of coordination that is required in that end to make it work if people are going down that one day. So that's a bit of a starting point for us too, to circle back on that piece.
which the answer from Northern Health to me is that they do this for other communities, not using air, but they're doing it, like, vans are coming from different communities with the community members, and Northern Health has organized that, whatever Fraser Lake, I don't think it's Fraser Lake, but Community X Day, right? So it's nothing that they are not already doing. The only thing that's different is they haven't ever done it for Fort Nelson or Northern Rockies, and we would be arriving via plane, not via van, so.
Okay. Timing. Timing. What, how quickly do you hope staff would finish this? Because that's, well, because it
Councilor
impacts,
Andrews just said tomorrow.
because it impacts whether or not staff can do it now. When they talk tomorrow, they're gonna wanna know, well, when do we want this finished? Is it something we need to do right now? Is it something we fit in somewhere? And so.
Well, I mean, I am just so enthused that Northern Health is looking at this. I just want to be ready with our answers. If Northern Health says, yeah, it's a go, because we know Villers is ready to go. Northern Health is seriously considering it, and we have heard that it shouldn't be a problem, but we don't have that officially yet. So then the other piece is going to be the cost factor. So we could tell you tomorrow how much it's going to cost if nobody sponsors it, right? But that's the missing piece, is
Yeah.
that sponsorship. So
By budget time, by budget discussions. Cause we don't have the money to do it this year. So it's not going in this year's
I'm not
budget.
looking for any money from council, like from the NRM. That's not what I'm looking for. Sorry, I'm not, sorry if I have misconstrued that. What I'm looking for is some help in determining what money is out there that patients can use to access this air travel service. So like the BC Cancer Society, would Hope Air be interested? Are there other pots of money like the travel assistance program? They will cover airplane tickets for non-urgent medical travel, but will they cover this because it's a charter? It's those types of support that I need help in determining. Because I think all three of those organizations would support it. But I, again, don't have that in writing from, and there might be other ones out there that Diana knows about and other staff knows about that I don't know about. So that's the help I'm looking for. I'm not looking for any money right now from the NRM.
Okay.
Just time.
Okay. Make your resolution, please. Yeah. You don't need the council consider bit, because that's what we've done. So it's allocation of the time.
Okay, so the notice of motion is that requesting staff time to research possible grant options that could be used to introduce the Villers Air Service transportation option as a pilot project.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Gilby, second by Councillor Andrews. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. The staff have enough direction with respect to carrying out the action.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Takes us to 4.3, the Northern Community Shuttle Program. Mitch Bruce, please. Welcome, Mitch.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So the report before you is an opportunity that is available to research and apply to. There are several projects that are currently being worked on that align with this funding, such as Complete Communities and the Navigate NRM, which was mentioned in a previous comment there. So the shuttle program will require substantial staff time to identify and meet with partners, as well as developing a program and budget to submit a competitive application. We have shared this program to potential partners already who have reached out, expressing interest in working together with this opportunity. At this point, it is unclear how this could fully shape up, since there's lots of considerations around building and providing this service. So if regionals councils wishes are to work on better understanding how we can utilize this funding, it is important to know that there may be a budgetary ask, most likely be a budgetary ask in the October meeting. What is not noted in my report that is in that work that is understanding would identify in this project is other funding opportunities, such as advertisements or ridership fees that would go towards supporting this project. And the other thing to note is that it's supposed to be for general public only and not for specific groups or uses such as either seniors or health transfers. It's supposed to be general transfer.
Thanks, Mitch. So I guess I've got some questions. This is the Northern Community Shuttle Program. My understanding is this is to fund a shuttle, not to determine whether a shuttle is necessary. That's what the money we got before was for, was to build a business plan so that when this program came available, you could submit a business plan that says, this is the size of bus we need. This is what the schedule might look like. These are the funding partners. You know, this is what the ridership might look like and what we might. So where are we with respect to determining that? Because I don't think you'll get this money, because this is to actually buy a bus and operate it, not to determine whether it's a good idea to buy a bus and operate it. So if we're gonna submit for this, which I think we should, we need to, you know, they're gonna ask for a bit, I'm sure the application is gonna ask for a business plan. So where are we with respect to that money that we received from NDIT already? And that, I think you're calling it the Navigate NRM, right? That was that project. What was that? $50,000 we got from NDIT to determine, to work on that.
Yeah, it was a $45,000 with combination of grant and NRM funding. We're currently going through the process, so we're just finishing up and getting who we want involved with that. Just in regards to some of the comments, I have reached out to Jordan at NDIT just to ask her some questions around that, just saying, hey, we have stuff currently in progress that we can't necessarily say we need it for this, this, and this. She has provided that it is flexible in a way that we can amend as needed. So as those programs are built out, we can amend that program and essentially change it as we need it, that whatever the demand is. If that makes sense.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So whatever the demand is outside of health or senior specific groups, like.
So
I'm just like a little confused.
for sure. And so the comment just with it can't be used for specific groups is that it can't be used for only senior transfer or only health transfer, but they can still use that service. So it's a generalized, open to the general public, like everybody needs to be able to access it.
The program is. So what
Correct.
my understanding is that they're like a senior society could not apply for this. It needs to be a community-wide shuttle service.
So because we are a smaller community, we wouldn't be able to utilize the 2 buses that are currently in operation and expand that using this. That would not be allowed.
That's my understanding of it.
So I think that would be part of the work that we would do, is just working with those partners to understand if that is a possibility to be able to utilize those buses, because then it takes away from whatever their current program is, right? So they would have to be able to open that up to the general public as opposed to just specific folks. It is my understanding though that actually Hillary told me the other day is that the senior society does have that general, it's just not well known that it is for general public. So it is a potential, right? But we still need to have those conversations to work out the details.
Can I ask one more question? So where does ride share or Uber, whatever, where does that factor into something like this? Because in my head, I could be wrong, but in my head, that's the type of thing that we need here, some sort of taxi company again, or like a ride share, whatever, like you can just use your app or make your telephone call and book something or have somebody pick you up. Does that factor into this type of a proposal at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the partners that we did send us to, or well, we'll call them partners, but just shared it with people that may have been interested, is Coastal Rides. And they came back and said, we're interested.
Okay, so that's what I didn't understand. So Coastal Rides, that's not necessarily a bus, that is individual cars that you can book. Yes.
Yeah, so that's where kind of that working out that business plan really comes into play. And so there's a lot of factors that just as you kind of think about this, that have to come into play. And one of them as well, just adding on to that is, you know, if they're going out to the boonies, how do they have cell service, right? So you got to think of potentially like a Starlink on the bus or whatever vehicle we use, right? So, yeah, so it could be
Okay.
individual vehicles, but you know, that's one of those conversations that there's all these details that do need to be worked out before.
Okay.
Because the school board could be involved. Like, if I've thought through this quite a while, you know, because I've been thinking about what a regional shuttle service could look like. I know there are a lot of people that are going to Prophet River every single morning. There are staff, people residents here who live in Prophet River. If you worked out with Prophet River and the school board, there could be a bus that goes down there that delivers them. It'd have to be a little earlier because the kids from there have to get to school, but the bus goes down there and comes back. Does the school kids, then there's an opportunity for it to go to the nation and either pick up school kids and or pick up anybody else for Nelson First Nation and back into town. Now you've got an opportunity for it to work around town during the day. The end of the day, goes down, takes the school kids home to Prophet River, picks up the employees that are down there, brings them back, stops Fort Nelson. To me, that makes a lot of sense that kind of a shuttle could work. And if it worked well enough, eventually you probably could work Fort Liard into it, eventually. But at least in the short term, it sure seems to me like a shuttle service like that would work. What the route in town looks like, that people can either call or they wait at the bus stop if there's a known route. I don't know. I haven't thought that far through. But you need a budget for a bus, you know, and I'm sure the Prophet River, I mean, they're paying their people to drive back and forth now. So I'm sure that there's opportunity for them to get into that. And then the ridership within the community would cost you whatever a bus fare would be. You pull all that money together because $200,000 is not going to be enough, right? Annually. So there's got to be some local input into ridership costs that will go into this. So to me, that's what I feel we should be working to. I also agree that the Uber or whatever, that happens on the side because some people might not want to wait at the bus depot or the bus stop or whatever. They just soon call somebody up. And if, you know, and if that works, you know, so sitting on the NDIT board, that's the sort of thing I hear happening in some of these other communities. It's easier for them. Like there's some shuttles, I think there's one Smithers goes into Prince George and picks up people all the way along the way, right, and back, and that kind of thing that's going on. So that's what I envision, and that's going to take sitting down with the communities of Fort Nelson First Nation and Prophet River First Nation. So I don't know where we are with respect to bringing them on and talking about that whole process, because I think that's what this is aimed at, a system like that.
Yeah, and really that's what the ask is, because that's just as you identified, there's a lot that will need to go into this before the application date of October 18th. Which involves, so yeah, chatting with the nations, chatting with other potential partners like Senior Society or Coastal Rides or the school division. So it's really figuring out who those partners are going to be, financial contributions, what does the ridership fee model look like, that kind of thing. Right. So this was sent out, I think it was a week and a half ago now. And so this is relatively new and it's a short time frame to get it all in. So.
So frustrating.
I'm going to ask tomorrow because
Thank you.
I'm chairing an NDIT meeting in Chetwynd tomorrow. So I'll ask that very question.
Can I ask another question? Okay, so I don't know if it was in this report or the one before and I didn't highlight it or I can't find it right now, but one of them said that you have to have interconnection, like it to another community. So what is our other community? Is Fort Nelson First Nations and Prophet River, is that our other community, or is Fort St. John our other community?
So it could be, it could be the nations. So I did ask that question, and the nations could qualify for that.
Okay.
It could be either or, right?
Either or, yeah. And so that was the thing is they said the short haul. So they said less than 300 kilometers. I did ask the question. They did say for us to Fort St. John is an exception because we are unique in that aspect. So it can double over as that. So there's lots of potential for it. It's just, once again, figuring out those logistics and how that all comes together.
I think you worry about that after you get the short term, because just the driver time, just the number of drivers you need.
Yep.
Right? If you start going to Fort St. John, now you're talking big driver time. And just the amount of time that a driver is allowed to operate is will throw a skid into that. It might develop to that, and I hope that it would. But NDIT is also looking at the a regular bus service between the big communities.
Yep.
Fort St. John, Dawson Creek in here, so daily. So hopefully that materializes and this won't have to turn into that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, based on those comments, because the options are potentially endless.
Yep.
I mean, if it's probably good if council provided some direction, or if we're good with the direction or the comments you're making, Mayor, to kind of narrow the focus a little bit based on
Yeah.
your comments. Because it is one less thing from a task or a capacity perspective we have to deal with at this time, right? Something that because we have talked many times, we've talked to NDI, we've talked to Ministry of Transportation, Northern Health, around trying to dovetail or collaborate the current transportation offerings that are there and expand on it, but also create some synergies, because with the BC bus and the Northern Health bus, which don't necessarily work for our area, especially if you're trying to connect to go to Prince George. And just the amount of days of the week. And there were some opportunities locally at the time, but there was previous funding available, which didn't fit. It wasn't eligible. That said, if the focus at this point is primarily on things like connecting the closer communities, so we'll pick on Fort Nelson First Nation or especially Prophet River. If council's good, that's where we'll kind of focus our efforts. At this point, is that something now?
This is a shuttle program. To me, that's what that fits to that. I think the trip to Fort St. John, that's another whole beast. But for me, if we're gonna put $50,000 into it to something that will work, which also gives us some daily service. We have no daily service in town right now. This potentially gives you that daily service between those two trips down the road. So to me, that's money well spent in the area. So I would like to see us focus it on a shuttle rather than a long distance haul, I guess. That's my thoughts.
So just to add, so there was some clarification that I did seek around the shuttle question too, of like, can it only be between the communities or can we have in town as well? And so the response was, as long as there's interconnectivity between we can do whatever we want to pick people up in town. So there is those options as well to kind of add that on as a bonus piece.
So you could put the route through town to stop at the different seniors places, get them over to the arena or the pool. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
That's the frustration for me, and that's where I would like to see everybody working together, because we have 2 buses and we do donate to the senior transportation initiative right now annually. So we have the 2 senior buses there. We have the Northern Health bus. We have BC bus that comes like whenever, and none of it's coordinated, right? And we're still, I'll speak for myself. I feel like it's not meeting anybody's need. No, meeting very few needs. And so I don't know whether another bus into the community, not saying it's not a great idea, but I don't know how that's going to work. I would like to really spend some time investigating, working with, because Fort Nelson First Nations has their own bus as well. I don't know whether Prophet River does. I think they do. And so is it that we need another actual bus, or do we need some work and partnership and collaboration in organizing how many, 4 or 5 buses that we currently have, so that it's better reflective of what the community needs. But I do have to say that I really think, and Councillor Roper has brought this up before, is we need to continue investigating. Is it called ride sharing, or is that when it's the ride share option? Like that's what's severely lacking here. If you go out for an evening, you have no way to get home, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. So it doesn't, I think working with those groups, whether one of them wants to take it on or all of them want to take it on, it's the service that this is building, right? Where the bus comes from or which drivers can become part of the solution. but it's that service, but they've got to be prepared. This is envisioning a much bigger service than what they're doing right now. So the driver would have to be able to have the time to do the bigger portion of it. And it would be up to them as to whether or not they think they want to expand that.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And
yeah.
maybe this money, instead of being used to actually purchase a bus, the money can be used to, you know,
Operate.
work with all of the
Yeah.
the organizations that currently have buses servicing our community and find out a way to, you know, work together to make it more feasible.
And yeah, I think just if you look at kind of the funding there, it does break it down. It's a total of 200,000, but it breaks it up between your capital and your operating. And so it does require a partner. And so I think that is the idea behind this is to make sure that you're partnering with folks who are capable and willing to do it.
All right. What would council like to do? Yeah, there's a recommendation there that we undertake, explore potential partners and business models.
Okay. Well, given our conversation and I really want to made known that I'm not necessarily interested in supporting the purchase of another bus, but I will preface that work be undertaken to explore potential partners and business models with the intention of submitting an application to the Northern Community Shuttle Program that hopefully includes ride hailing.
And
We can take that.
I think staff's also looking for $50,000.
Not yet. That'll come from the,
October.
it'll like once the business models are worked out, right? Like it might not be 50,000. If it
Okay.
comes back and, you know, FNFN's willing to chip in, profits chipping in, and then ridership fees on top of that, we
Okay.
may be able to cover it, but that's not all.
So I have a
I'm-
motion from Councillor Going and that's seconded by Councillor Andrews. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adjournment, please. Councillor Gerwing, Councillor Andrews, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody.